Okay, this is my $5 drop system. And I built this because there was this guy who was losing money, right? This guy I couldn't get the trade demo. So this is for him. If he wants to download this, this is the guy that was wanting to make $50 an hour, he said. Now, if you drop 10 of these orders, you can see right here, you've reached your maximum risk, and these are all set to a daily. So you have to open up the code and change this to another. It says BD1, so I'm going to put the, I maybe already did it, but it's $5 drops, right? It's like I went to this comedy show last night, free comedy. Well, I just bought a beer for $5. And I thought, that's interesting. All the beer was kind of like $5, and there was one beer that was 6 and 7, but that was the outlier, right? That was the black swan of the beer list. And this is a new pub in town, and so that comedy there, and so very small crowd though, you know. My God, but the parking lot looks like, I mean, everybody drove their own car apparently. You pull up, you're like, holy shit. So I thought $5, you know. Of course, I wrote this thing way before that, so I could see it coming. I made that call, called that market, $5, $5 foot long. That's the new $1. I think give us about 10 years. Of course, de-inflation was the big fright, right? That was a big frightening de-inflation. How is it just nobody wants change in their life? Keep it the same way it was. Okay, now these are buy drops here, and of course, naturally, I didn't write very many sell drops. It's so much work to just write the buy drops. So I run out of my inspiration when my energy when I get to the other one. But this is where I start. 10 pips stop, 5Ks. Now you're forced to trade a bigger ticket here, and I'm going to trade this on the infamous Oanda, which I think they let you trade like a $10 position here, or you could trade like $100 position or $1 or something like that. Some of their accounts. So here it's kind of set up to the size. You're in that size, so you can go all the way down to a 50 pip stop to make 50 pips. This is $5 to make $5 on a 1K. So the size is going to come down to make sure that you're still risking $5. So it's engineered from a dollar standpoint as opposed to a pip standpoint, because we can't make any money from pips. We can only make money from. Now this is break even, for God's sakes. This is worse than break even. And this is what the guy was. He wanted to do a trade where he risked 30 pips to make 3 pips, but I think you could risk 50 to make 20. Now, 50 to make 20 gives you a lot of room to say, you know what, I'm down 10, it's going to fucking hell, I'm getting out. There's a little more breathing room. Now, you see, because that's just a 1K. It's a big difference to go from that 1 now to 5K. You're in kind of scalp mode here. Double your money scalps on the second, break even on the top. So the max you can make on this one, the biggest winner on here are these 2 tickets. $20, risk 5 to make 20. That's 4-to-1 ratios. Now you write the sell side of that, right? And you bracket the market and you say, you know what? I don't give a fuck. Walk away. Now you are getting in a 5K. You could set that up to single. You could hit a button that puts in at the market that size, and actually inside there's scaling out, right? So you can make scale outs within there. But this is presupposing that you have this hard $5 approach. That's your filter, your threshold for the your risk level. So this is pure math approach. Now, of course, finding a place to put it on the chart would be the trick. And here you may have to say, well, I'm going to have a $10 drop where I put a 100 pip stop on a 1K, because some of these moves on this market here, this is the 100-yard line is the big dark line horizontally speaking here. And you can see that there are 300, and if you're going to wait all week to get paid, right? Wait all month to get paid. What am I talking about? It's a weekly chart. So look at the weekly. I can't pick the size of that. Maybe I can. Okay, so here's a big picture of the Australian and the New Zealand and the Australian New Zealand. So I've been watching the euro versus the yen and the triad there. This is another triad of price behavior, and I think it's obvious that the chart in the middle, the New Zealand, if Australia can go up against the dollar, then New Zealand would probably follow, and we're right kind of pulled back into the previous top, become a bottom. So if you had a gun to your head and you had to make a trade now, you'd just buy New Zealand on the open as soon as it opens tonight. Now, I wouldn't bet the ranch. I'd bet $5. I'd put a 50 pip stop in. Buy one at the market with a 50 pip stop, and I put a pending below. Okay, now this is for the guy that wants to make all this money. Put a pending 20 pips below with the same stop. Now you're risking $10. Okay, you're done on that trade. You're done for the week. Let it go. Right? Let it go. Don't fucking buy 40K here. Don't do it. You might even make, in fact, you could, if you're going to make $10, you risk $10 to make $10 this week. Who's not doing that trade? Who doesn't need $10 extra this week? And of course, on this Orlando, which is out of the, it's living inside of a regulation, so you kind of have to go with the $5 stop on this broker because they won't let you out of they won't let you scale out. So this is a perfect fit for the United States market. This platform as it exists. You can build upon it. You can risk $10, $13. You can actually risk $2, I'm sure. If you want to build a 1K script, you risk $2 to make $5. Now you got $5 that you can go use to risk $5 on the other script. So it's all there. Now I'm not done building it, and if I had to, I would. Now this is where people would say, "Well, I don't know if I would really want to spend all that time dropping a fucking order on the screen. Why don't you just give me a $20 risk, and I'll just fucking put a 200 pip stop on it?" Well, of course. Start to go to $10 a risk, $15, $20. You have a 150 pip stop. Imagine a 150 pip stop. Could you make 50 pips with a 150 pip stop? If you didn't overtrade it, this is just still $15. Now, all you have to do is make that a 10K. You're risking $150. And you're watching the stats come out of these people's accounts. I'm thinking, you really were so lazy you could not put in 2 orders instead of 1 and save yourself getting stopped out of a perfectly good trade. So this is what I guess irritates me, gets under my skin, triggers me is so I go to this guy's, I'm still recovering from this, going to this music guy's house, this young kid. Nothing against young people, they're just annoying. So he says, "Oh, well, I want to get out of this room." Okay, so now here I am, ready to do some work in the studio. I'm like, dude, let's jam. No, we're not going to jam. What we're going to do is going to go outside and bullshit in the camper. Okay, I love it, but I said to him, we need to get a fisheye lens on the ceiling so we could film this fucknuttery so we can broadcast and make some fucking money or something, It's any fuck. Even if it's just, let's build a fort, right? So the comedian last night is talking about, you can't do what you used to do when you were a kid. Right? You can't just go skipping down the road. People are going to think you're out of your fucking mind. And all these, so that kind of playfulness is... This is what Forex needs, is more playfulness. And but the seriousness that people adopt when they get older, they say, no, I can't do that anymore. The funny thing, he says, when you go out to the park, he says, you can't treat a dog like kids aren't like dogs, because you can't go to the park and pet another person's kid. And unless you abduct them. But it's one of those things that, man, I tell you, it's such a uninspirational point of view is to have the that'll never work glum, the glum approach. It'll never work. But here you can do it. It works if you work it. Of course, you have to say, I'm going to risk $15 on that trade. Okay. I'm going to risk $10. I put a 100 pip stop in. Can I make $2 with 100? Can I make 20 pips with a 100 pip stop? You probably could. And here you could see, I would just say without a doubt, I would put a buy limit here with the 100 pip stop and one here with a 100 pip stop. And if they take all three out, okay, I'm down $30. You know, call me loser. Down $30. Trying to make $90. Now, put better ratios for your profits. You know, if you're looking at this is the weekly chart, mind you. If you're looking at the 5-minute chart, you can have a whole different idea structurally of where you're at in the big picture. So contextually price. I try to explain to this guy. Of course, that was the whole point of it, of having somebody that doesn't know shit challenge your premises is the whole point of life. This is like playing chess against somebody that doesn't know how to play chess. Try to play chess with a 5-year-old. Well, first you knock the pieces over. I think that's how you win. See, I knocked your king over. Great. Fucking beautiful. Now, he's breaking the rules of the game, but he's getting it done. How can you deny the absolute genius and get her done effort of a 5-year-old playing chess against you? You can't. You can't argue with it. He glues your pieces down in the middle of the night. And here you come to play the game in the morning. You're like, fuck, can't move. See, you lost. But that's not the way, you know, chess has rules. So people want to have rules when they go trading. I need trading rules. Okay, here's a book of rules, but you make your own rules. The problem with trading, it's like Cider House Rules, I think. The movie, there's a big epic, like, oh, that's a game changer, that movie, the Cider House Rules, or somebody wrote the rules on I can't remember how it goes. I still don't know what To Kill a Mockingbird's about, if anybody can break that down for me. Every time I watch that movie, I'm like, I'm getting lost in the actor's acting ability. Can you give me like the cliff notes on that shit? I'm totally lost. So the $5 drop just kind of makes it like, you know what? Grandma could trade this fucking thing. I could get Grandma. I'm gearing up to go down to the coding. There's a coding meeting here down in town. A bunch of fucking geeks. Apparently, I'm only cut out for hardworking geeks, because my buddy with the music thing that says, oh, I've spent all weekend here working. I want to get out. This is my office, you know. I'm like, dude, you have never been self-employed. I mean, well, of course, the guy's on government. He's on the dole. Right, so maybe this is what I resent, and this is why I can't hang out with welfare recipients. Because they're just like, what's the motivation for him? He doesn't have a gun to his head. I got to get in my head every day, because I'm always good as my last trade, so I got to come back with something else. What do you got, bitch? Like, come on. These comedians, I mean, the one guy was just, I thought, well, this guy's got to go back to prison. So his joke was that he got out of jail. And I love the black guy. We had a black guy last night that was just totally hilarious. I mean, he's like, yeah, I'm black, yeah. Dude, get over it, right? He said he has head in front of the thing. He said he was an eclipse because he had a white background. He claimed he was the eclipse. Fucking hilarious, man. But you know, the trading thing is just too much fun. So you can see here, and of course, this would be the setup coming next week. Is buy this on the open and put a buy limit here if you feel better, right? This is the pivot, structurally speaking, right? And you can make all sorts of you can force a trade with all sorts of tools, right? You can force it to make sense. Here's a doji. I'd say just right here, actually. In fact, I'd buy at the market. I'd buy at the low of the week when they stop hunt. Suppose it's stop hunt anybody that's long that fucking puts a moron stop there. So I think I figured out the moron stop about fucking oh god, that was 10 years ago. I thought, well, yeah, I'm getting stopped out, and fuck, it's a great trade after all. Look at that, those motherfuckers. How dare they? And I spent so much money on textbooks. I just thought, I mean, so the problem was back then was that it cost so much to buy the book cost $100 or $150, and then you had to find a broker, come up with $5,000. This is back when $5,000 was $5,000, right? So these would be like dollar drops. I mean, crazy, right? You couldn't even trade like this back then. Oh my God. Yeah, this kid this kid at the studio that refused to like do something. I'm like, well, do something, man. You play back your fucking. And then I try to remix, and then he publishes the remix, and I'm like, dude, it fucking drums sound like shit. I just fucking fixed your mix, and you just published that shit. I didn't even. I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm done. I'm too audiophile. I can't even fucking. It's funny because the comedians were using a mixer that just had a built-in compressor called distortion. So when they ran out of watts, the guy that was the MC guy, he would just yell into the mic. And I mean, I can't believe that. Well, I mean, it's just like 50% distortion coming out of the fucking mains. So I just want to sit and have like this Japanese girl who's shredding on keyboards come over, and we'll just jam. You know, get my bass out. Let's cut some fucking rug on this goddamn fretboard. And that's my dream. My dream is just freewheel jamming, and there's no language barrier, right? There's no language barrier in music. Just like the market, there is no language barrier in patterns. Symbology has no language barrier. You gotta love it, right? So here, obviously, I can already see I want a sell bank starting up into this void here next week, right? Scalping off these 100 pips. Who knows what's going to fucking happen here next week? It's a complete, beautiful void potentially being filled. Here, coming back into fair value, good doji, right? Hey, this is the breakout. Who doesn't have buy limits here for a bounce to here? Who's not wishing that this thing just keeps cutting and never looks back, but we can buy the wick window? So the other thing about this is about the wick window. This is our seller's limit placement window. In my unhumble opinion, this here is the critical zone on any chart, is where they blast people to death in this window, but closing prices are running a beautiful structure. Triple top becomes another double top. How isn't that fucking just bashing you in the head, that pattern? And look at the feeding zone, like it's drifting up, right? This is what's triggering your moving averages are built on close. Don't forget, they're not built on high and low. The guy that sent me the envelope thing, the idea, here's a strategy. Now, I'm not bashing his strategy. I'm just saying, can you see how ridiculous it is that you could not make money from just getting in on a moving average crossover system or anything like that? Bollinger Bands, all that bullshit would never feed your family because all the money is right here. Let's range trade that as it comes down into the wick to wick, right? Wick to wick trade. Here's a wick. Here's a wick. You're out. That trade's gone. Bye-bye. I just made 300 fucking pips. I don't care about the trend. I could have counter trend traded that. This is a big argument I had. I did a counter. Can you make money counter trend trading? And the guy's like, well, you're really going against the trend there. Yeah, really. Look at this shit here. What the fuck is going on? It comes back in here. How many times is it going to retest that? Right? How many flunk outs? How many times you flunk out of college already? You're going to do it again? Yeah. See, now that in the real world, people, I can't believe he's buying down here again. Now, this is a range, super rangy, and almost like this is better. I can't seem to get a mid zoom on this fucking software. It's like I'm either zoomed in to the nth of the world or I'm fucking, somebody's just going to do a different kind of zoom. So pissed at this. Every piece of software has a different game it's going to play. So if I take this and zoom, just good old fashioned button key, and here I do have the highs and lows blocked off here. I'm trying to emphasize the price around the price. That's actually a moving average on highs. So this is what I call cage fighting. How'd that cage fighter do? This is cage fighting, the closing cage fight. So you can make any kind of chart you want. It's not going to matter. here's the weekly top bottom before we lunge, and this is your trailing sell stops, right? You just got filled here for a scalp, mind you. Now, on another time frame, when this happens, okay, say you're on the hourly chart and you know you're taking out the weekly lows, you can see it crush in for a nice 80 pip, 60 pip, 80 pip winner, almost the round number. But as you're coming down into that, everybody is aware of the fact that even the guy with the 5 period envelope says it's in a fucking uptrend. I'm going to buy the vacuum backfill here on limits to here, and I'm out of that trade. Plus I made money on the crush down. So the pressure's building up here on New Zealand right now. The pressure's building up. This is the vacuum to fill, and this is the other vacuum. So we could, if we buy at the market on open, just to get something on the grid, get something going, man. Get one fucking lousy trade in, or maybe you put in 10 pips deep, right? Or maybe, and then you put a buy limit here, and then you put a buy limit here, and you walk away. Now, the way it plays out within here, you could play the same game on, this is the weekly chart, mind you. You could play the same game on the 4-hour chart. So the 4-hour to the weekly, you're far enough away that you have a different signal. You need inverted signals. So the fact that the 5-minute conflicts with the 1 hour is perfect. The more they conflict, the better. Because that is you can counter trend trade it now. Or you can jump on the long train. You can see, you know what, this baby's going to cave in. That's just how this thing's going to crush up. That's just how it's going to be, man. This is the first so I've marked off the high and low of the vacuum. This is W, right? This is double bottom, a double bottom in highs, right? So I've tried to, you have to spend time, like, you see down, this is the vacuum marked off. Pullback vacuum in an uptrend, a goober entry, buy stop. But what about the stop hunt right here in the weekly at the 100-yard line? Look at this tag at the 100. Look at the respect for a closing at the 100, a doji at the 100. This is so evident, Inside the daily, I'm sure there's a beautiful top bottom right here just before you take off. And look at this top bottom. Kind of a little bit sloppy, but close enough for the double bottom here. Here's the head, shoulder, head, shoulder, right? Very clearly, weekly, not a lot of signals. Now, as we poke up into here, and the spread sucks giant dick here. 30 pips on close, 12 and 8. Now, this is the most liquid. This is the most less wicky. That I think then, well, maybe not. Everything gets wicky sometimes. Now, if I go to look at the wicks here, New Zealand has a bigger wick because it has a worse spread. This is a 100 pip wick. This is a 100 pip madness wick. This is vicious. Now, look at the stop hunt here. Would this be a good place to buy on limits, or just... Well, you got 2 weeks to buy this double bottom. As soon as you take this out, you're like, okay, let it go, baby, because this vacuum's about to fill. And you're getting the same thing here. Australia's killing New Zealand. Here, you don't really get the, you don't even get a fill, really. You only get one fill here because they retest this closing price in a 10 pip window. This is 10 pips on the babies and 100 here. Look at this thing. You have a sell limit sitting at the round number like a goof, and you just made 100 pips to here guaranteed. And if you let it go, you made 1,000 pips on that one fucking ticket. Who's holding that ticket? Here's the only chance to get aboard the doji train, the doji break. It's the only time it does a rally. This is the only time it lets it up off the map before it beats the shit out of it again. Look at this entry here. Are you kidding me? Okay, so we're coming up on this window. It's going to be a struggle to get into this zone. I mean, this might just go to the 4-hour and look for entries. Weekly to the 4-hour. Forget the daily, because the daily is too close to the 4-hour. The daily and the 1-hour. The daily and the 1-hour maybe. But you're too close, I think. and you're going to get too much of an agreement. The 5 minute against the hour. You have to get away from the other time frame. If you do the 1 hour to the half hour, I'd say go maybe 1 minute to the 15 or the 1 minute to the half hour, but you got to get this kind of, I think you have to get far enough away in zoom levels that you get a conflicting signal. And this is going to force you to say, well, where am I at in the context of the big picture? So if you're saying, well, I think that, and of course, you can't get, if you zoom out too much, you might as well just go the monthly to the daily then. Daily to monthly. Because then you're going to see, oh, yeah, come on, look at the monthly. Look at the daily. Shit. You have a doji on the, you're about to take out, another thing here to consider is that as far as this thing going crazy now, this is the safest thing to trade if you're trading tighter stops right now. Because you're back in the fair value, you've dipped back into kind of like if you draw an angle here, you'd say, well, we're right in a perfect setup zone. This would be scary to sell here because this could just keep cutting and never look back. And once it takes out, it would just keep, if you were going to put a 500 pip stop on there, you'd just be like, holy shit, that thing is just going to keep crushing. Same thing here. You're coming up into historical prices. This thing you've already backed off. The people that sold new highs here, and they made this many pips, then they made this many pips, and they probably got out here because you can see the flutter here of the doji because you came back into, but you're overcorrecting in now. And you're coming back into the fair value battle. Not to say that you can't blow out fair value, because if you would have sold here in a trend continuation concept that you think this is going down and this is a place fair value to get short, well, guess what? Once it rejected these two dojis here, if you can see these two dojis, anytime you see a baby move, and this is a perfect top bottom situation here too, isn't it? This is the bottom that's supposed to become a top, and wah, wah, wah. In fact, this shearing wick here was brutal, and of course this is the weekly. So we're really coming up on this contentious point here. How is it going to behave when it gets to this level? Now that's where you could go to the 4 hour chart or the 1 hour chart and say, you know what, that thing pulled back here. I'm seeing a perfect buy on the fucking 1 hour. Look at the weekly to 1 hour. That's even better. You have the weekly view, you got the 1 hour, and you scrunch the 1 hour up so you can see the high of the last week, but you know that once they crush into this zone here, this could be quite the freewheeling ride, just like it was here. And look how much freewheeling it had up here. Just complete, utter spaz-all-outness. And at 200 pip, like this is range trading for 200 pips all month long. You know, it's hard to even fucking believe, isn't it? Like, that all this is going on, all this bullshit. This is why trend trading just sucks. Giant dick. Bigger, it's ridiculous. I mean, where you're gagging on the dick. You literally can't, it's too big for you. Honey, I'm sorry to tell you, but I got a little bit of a, what would you call it, a birth defect. Yep. I've been sued. Okay. A lot rides to the hospital. So if you zoom out one more level, holy shit, right? What if this thing cuts into this void now? And this would be the next to join. And this is, how are people trading this in a trend mode? Now you can see the way that this rolls as far as liquidity. And here's the double bottom on the weekly that you missed, just the complete range trade entry. No Gartleys needed, nothing but just range trade this thing. And look how brutal this is. Because this is the cross rate. That is the hedge against the other currencies. Okay, so I'm going to zip this up in a folder. This is the $5 drop. And here, look at this. Really? Wow. That is like moving averages on that? Well, I get a little conflicting signals. And this is, here's the ultimate top bottom before the collapse. Of course, we get the same kind of measure here. This is the perfect bottom becomes a top here. At the same time, we're getting it here, but this is more of a choppy ride. There are more wicks and more scatterbrained behavior on this one. But of course, this is pretty scatterbrained too. Just before the monster collapse, before we fill this vacuum and then just continue to go historical. And this is kind of crawling back out from the abyss, right? This is the people are trying to sell into that, but this is your sell you missed, I suppose, as selling this pullback. Now I think it's pulled back, and you don't have to trade this thing. This thing you really have to put sell limits at the 100-yard lines here and just trade a range trade, because this thing you could get down on the smaller time frames here, since the spread is only 8 pips here. You could conceivably make money here. You're probably going to have to run a 12 pip and a 17, and this 25 pip stops 50. But yeah, that's it. Now, if you had, all you have to do is make this a 4K, and now you can make this this would become a whole nother spectrum. If you can only imagine that this is going to become a whole nother number here, and now you'd be able to put a 60 pip stop in here, say. Well, no, sorry, you're always going to be, you're going to have to risk $6 to put the 60 pip stop and start at a 60 level. That's going to allow you to maybe add one more ticket here and trade with an 8 pip stop, but the spread's 8, right? So you're screwed. That's why you may want to just write a $10 drop that goes to 100 pips, and now you can go down to here and trade slightly bigger here. But that's going to be effort versus, or you could just do literally size only. So size only, and then just do the math here, and you'd say, well, I'm only risking $2 here. I just made this $5 just to emphasize that if you've got $1 million in the account, you're probably not going to bother putting in a $2 stop. 20 pips on a 1K. But see, you could but it allows you to put the $20 stop in. You can have the 200 pips. So you're living in this. You pick your maximum worst trade, $10, 100 pip stop on a 1K, and then backward engineer it from there, and say, okay, well, the other tickets are just going to be $7.50, $5, $2.50, on and on. And you build it like that. And then you just look for places to place it on the chart, really. So next week, the big picture is, I'm going to get in here. Now, this is presupposing you have the fucking patience to get in here and hold that for 3 months. But maybe you're adding on the 4 hour. Maybe you're trading in the trend that you perceive about to happen, which you would have to say, here, I think this is going to keep going north. Here, I think this is going to pull back, and we may have to come all the way back to here. We might just play a scalp game in here. This one, forget about it. I just can't even imagine trading that instrument. This one actually had a trend line back here, and here's your envelope trend line inside. Right, so you could draw a series of speculations that, I'll trade that. You could also counter trend trade it. Right, you could have also, in any of this stuff, you could range trade it. So let's drop down to the 4 hour chart and take a look and try to hold in context. Now you have to burn this into your mind, kind of the weekly. The weeklies aren't going to change, so you can memorize the weekly chart. Pretty simple to just have a view that this is pure bullshit chaos. It's not going anywhere. It destroyed 40 trend bots. It obliterated them. They're all limping. And really anything on here. I mean, this trend is so short-lived. Is this the trend? Okay, this is the trend, right? This is the first, this is the bounce. Elliott wave, that's 3, 4, this is wave 4, 5, it's over. Okay, time for accumulation, time for insanity. And really, same thing here in a way. This is extreme. Here's your trend starting here. So this trend, the trend, and then you're just handing the ball off to the next currency pair. Here's a beautiful, you have your first pullback, your ultimate entry here is the place to get in here with a third touch of the trend line, but here we break the trend line. It's supposed to go to hell. It doesn't. In a trend line or even moving average system, this kind of action here, keeping pulling back into here. So what if we buy a little bit here, we sell a little bit here, and we have buy limits here, and we have sell limits here. Now we put in 5 trades, walk away. As they come near those prices, now we can see, well, let's take a look at all the trades we missed on the 4-hour chart. Go to the 4-hour and look at the utter chaos on the 4-hour chart. The beauty, now this looks like a trend on the 4-hour all of a sudden. See, there's completely conflicting stuff, and it should be. Otherwise, the market's really no fun. Now look at this limit entry here. Buying a pullback into the round number with a 25 pip stop. Here you could have put a 17 pip stop to make 50 pips. You could have risked $5 to make $15 right here, right? Is this not a perfect instance? No stop out. You have buy limits stacked up here on this ticket. You put them here because of the round number. Maybe you put them here because you have a trend line, big break pullback here. Whatever mystical reason you want to fucking come up with. Besides, you could have had a buy stop. Well, you really can't put buy stops on this. I can't see the thing. You have to, limits to the ultimate, right? Maybe buy stop here when the market quieted down. Like this is the only time. This is too fierce. This is too fierce of moves. There's really not, here's a buy stop and a sell stop. Here's a trap. Here's a nice smash back, pullback, get in. Here's the top, become a bottom before it leaves the station, right? This is a major retest of this top of this block. Here's the trap scalp entry. Trap scalps coming back. Look at this, within a 10 pip window, all the sell limits you could have played off of that. And then finally a break of that. Bam. But look at this beautiful double bottom on the 4-hour. Look at this feeding zone. You just have to keep replacing your orders. Buy, scalp to here, buy, scalp to here. You're making 30 pips, and then finally. And now that you look at the 4-hour, you say, well, fuck, I can't buy in the open. Yeah, right. You would buy 10, 20, 30, 40 pips deep and put it in a size that you can afford. Don't blow up your fucking account. Rule 1, right? Now, you could say, well, I'm going to put in buy limits here. You could put in buy limits. I would start here at the previous top, become the bottom, and here I just put them in and wait till they fill. If they don't fill, you go to the 1 hour, you go, you know what? I'm watching the market open. Now you go to the time frame because that's in the morning, the 15-minute chart's going to matter. It doesn't matter now. All that matters now, when the market opens tonight, all that's going to matter is price. And if we get a big sell-off, we can scalp that and realize that in the big picture, we can scalp around a trade. We don't have to. So this is where you become multi time frame abilities come in. If you're looking at this, you're saying, dude, I missed 3 fucking buys at the 100-yard line. I missed 3 painfully obvious half-hour traps here. Hopefully the spread's tighter. The spread here is 12 pips on close. Jesus, I'm going to watch this tighten up when the market opens. But if you had a buy limit at this new low that you know exists, and you got in and your exit was here, beautiful fucking trade. High probability setup. Somebody asked me a long time ago, hey, can you show me a high probability trade? Okay, show you about 40 right here that you could have taken. High probability if it's in an uptrend, and how you know it's an uptrend? Because it's kind of going up. You got it. Your first trend line is back here. You've already qualified in an uptrend. You buying pullbacks? Well, if you put a buy limit here and you put too tight a stop, no, you did not win that trade. You had to put a stop in like this. You had to buy here. You had to buy everything as it's pulling back. In other words, you're gobbling up every cheap price you can possibly get. Here you would, on the open, you put a buy limit here, all the way to this top. It's in an uptrend. You want to get a pullback entry. It's that fucking retarded. Now here is not a great, this is all just crazy, but still buying at the 100. How is this not a good trade? Buy at the 100, dump at 130. Make 30 pips, 30 pips, 30 pips over and over again. Now, on the 4-hour chart here, right? We're looking to break this trend line. We're looking for that big move, but how do we get into this trade? Look at it pull back on the 4-hour. How do we get in? Right? It's going up, right? Even if it's only going up 20 pips. What's wrong with 20 pips? What is wrong with making 20 pips? Why do they make me open that up to clear that off? I don't know. So this window. Now we can run our 10 pip stops. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully these spreads tighten up. We have got a 12 pip stop here. Getting really close to getting stopped out. So maybe you do want to dial this down and get more diversity in stops per price. You're really stuck with what they give you. I have no fucking tools on this bar here. Get rid of this standard shit. Oh man, why can't they just do a publish without any tools on here? MT5 sucks. How MT5 is never going to make it. It's just so god awful. It is so god awful. Okay, drawing tools. So we have to add the rectangle. It's not in here. Another big flaw. Just give me the rectangle, please. All the time, every day. And then the color is ridiculous, I think. Like blue. All right. So here is the 10 pip window, the wick window, your entry window for your orders on a 4-hour chart. I mean, you don't really have to be around for this trade. Who wouldn't want to be around and really load the wagon on the fucking 15-minute? You can only imagine what the 15-minute looks during that phase, during that situation. If you zoom into the so quarting off this zone here, and this is probably in the morning, news came out, and go do the forensics here and look at how that looked when that happened. Now it probably looked pretty frightening to get in there at that point because of what was going on, but if you even make it more precise, which you can do when you go to the 15-minute closing prices, you would buy here instead of buying the top of the blue range and save yourself a whole 7 pips. Right? Now, that was an amazing trade, and by the end of the day, if you didn't get out here, you were just a complete fool. Unless you are a big picture trader and you have to ride it back for 20 pips and lose your $2,000 of win. Because if you really got in heavy down here, you would have dumped. Probably 50% of my position is going to come off right in the middle of fair value, which is here. This is where you're wasting time and money because to get rich quick, it looks like this. You buy here and you dump here and you're out. That trade's done. I mean, you're out of that trade in literally an hour, 2 hours, hour and a half. Here's another get rich quick scheme. Buy limits here, get out here. That's it. The trade's over. Boom. You going to stick around for this bullshit? Oh, it's really going up here. Okay. So on the 15, zoomed out like this, you see all the money on this chart now? You got sells here in a 10 pip window with you're running your 10 pip stops, right? You just made 5, 10, 15, 20, 12. This adds up. You dropped this 10 times, you just made $150. Did you not? I mean, like I said, you have to inflate a little bit of these and deflate. These are hard numbers based on no spread. You're going to really risk 7 to make 18. But you're really going to tell me if you didn't buy this Asian, I think this is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you just put a sell limit up here for this fucking stupid entry and keep look how brutal this range is before it finally. Now here's where this is 4 hours of bullshit. This is a doji, right? This is the doji. What's a hammer? It's a hammer. You're selling a hammer. That's the only thing about the candlesticks. Open to close. Open to close, which means the market really didn't go anywhere, and you've got your body. The body of the market's open to close, right? There is no body on my charts. I have just wicks and I have close on my charts. I don't have the body, but I can make the body. I can quarten that off and go, there's the body there. That's the chopping off the wicks. If I quarten off just the price only and leave the wicks outside, this is the body, and this would be almost a shaved candle hammer on the maybe the 4-hour chart. As you look back, because we're all the way back here, and now we've got a hammer, right? Since this is all wick down here now, that's a hammer on the weekly maybe. Or on the 4-day chart, I was running like 3-day charts. Some program I had would let me do like a 3-day chart. And you can see all those patterns that you want to trade. Oh, hey, look at the 3-day hammer. Well, of course, it only lives on that 3-day chart. Another mind bender of trying to say that, well, the bullish engulf pattern is the most profitable, but really, how much time frame? So it's so time frame dependent, it's ridiculous. Let's see if I can find if I go to the weekly, yeah, so we have a hammer on the weekly, right? This is we have a hammer because we have close to close. I know this is open to close. Same thing, right? Turn on the candles, right? So we have a hammer here, and we have another doji hammer. So you could have traded just a wick on this doji here if you're on a different time frame. You just made $500 here. Selling the tops here and holding that for a week all the way for 200 pip ride to here, coming back to never really make it back to this doji. Here's an amazing doji, low range. So this is 1, 2, 3. Maybe this is wave 4. Maybe this is 3. Maybe this is consolidation. Most of the time, it's going to consolidate. There's only this big move, this kinda, and this big sterling crush of this, taking these highs out, right? Who can't see that coming, right? So the pressure's building up here. As soon as we trip the wire here, baby's going up. Is it too late to get on the train? I don't think so. If you buy, now this is where you'd have to size this. You're going to buy here and pull back. So the zoom in, zoom out, if you can get, this is max zoom in. You're setting up next week's trades right now. So here comes the week. And could we come all the way back and crush into here? Oh, yeah. And that would be a great, it could come all the way back to here, and New Zealand maybe is going to leave the station first. Maybe New Zealand's going to be, now New Zealand's definitely in the pullback mode here. We're going to load up. This is the painfully obvious entry is right here. As the stop hunts that, and we have a nice trend line we could trade off of, which everybody in the half hour has been trading off that. A 30-minute has been successful in trading off closing prices, and the wick is your. So you just kind of, this is not a lot of pips, mind you. It's only 10 pips, but like I said, it's $100 in a standard lot if you do it right. And you place, let's see, if you do 5 of these, this is half a standard lot. I mean, you do 10 of these. So you do 20 drops like this, and you just made, well, let's see. yeah, you made about $250 if you did 20 drops like this. 10 to make 30. 10 to make 30 looks like this. Here's your 10 pip stop, and here's your 30 pip winner. So this is your 10 stop. You bought one ticket right there, but you could buy over a range. You could start buying here to here, and then give yourself a fighting, because this way you can cash out maybe some here. Here's your 30 pips. And if you waited through the whole thing to chop out the high of Thursday, right, and get into the seller's window, which starts right here on the 15, and dump the whole thing, you could have even made $350. Loading up on that trade just like that. In one day, you made $350, and not really risky, because if you're allowed to drop 20 of these guys, you can certainly find slightly different entry levels for that, right? And that's the trick. You're finding maybe an 8 pip range entry of a 50K with a stops that go from, say, 12 to 20, and that cluster's in there, and the market dips in, it fills it, you let it go, it cashes out automatically on the stuff that is designed to just take a couple chunks out, and maybe 80% of the position still riding up into here. How you design that, how you deal with all this. Not to mention these completely stupid ass round number entries to make 20 pips, 30 pips with a 10 pip stop. Same thing in the other direction. Once they take out this high, that's just a trap. The 30-minute. So back and forth, up and down. Of course, if you have a day job, you're just stuck with this winner because you can't get to the platform. Maybe you come back, you see this top become a double bottom in structure, and you trade it to here, and you trade back the other way. So you trade up to the down to the up, back and forth. And just having the predetermined stop of 17, 12, whatever have you. Here you would say, I'm going to sell here, and I'm going to get out here and put a stop in here. Sellers are coming up here, so you have a basket of sells here that are scalp orientated. And here, of course, you have the buy limits to start here for the march up, and maybe it does have to come back to trend line, but you're already kind of like legging in and you're scaling in. With this broker, you're going to be stuck in the trade until the whole trade plays out, maybe, because this is fucking United States rules. On this broker, they're running bad leverage, no hedging. So you can't even sell into that till you're already long. So forget about hedging. That's why actually having this written long only is even a better fit. If you put this in, you got to make sure there's no other. So that's completely fucked up, right? And I guess it's because maybe the trend traders are trying to trade the Australia versus New Zealand. They blew up their accounts. Anytime to protect the citizenry, we need to get rid of sharp objects, get rid of. You can't even say certain words anymore. I was over this guy's. Now this guy's younger than me, way younger than me. I think 20 years, and he's uncomfortable with certain language. I'm like, really? But you say "fuck you, nigger" in your songs you wrote. Okay, I get it. I'm like, what are you? Some fucking. All of a sudden, you're on this other. I just can't. I don't know. I just have a hard time. I'm like, I just don't get this. What am I looking at? So yeah, I gotta find some a different crowd of people. I knew the world of musicians was just filled with irrationality, and why are all these musicians liberals? Hey, they're all touchy feely. Aw. I'm like, okay, bitch, come here. Let me show you something. You see this tough steel auger here? You see that fucking 300,000 RPM drill there? That's in your mouth. There's a doctor's in your mouth now. They're using lasers to cut your teeth, right? Well, eventually they just have a fucking robot just tweak you out. That's going to be the problem. When everybody looks gorgeous, now what? It's like that famous, the most famous, I think, really, to me, my favorite Twilight Zone is the one where the chick is like hotter than hell, and then they have to ugly her up so she can get along in society. And at the end of the thing, they don't let you see anybody in the town. At the end of the operation, they take off her thing, and they're just like, "Holy fuck! Did we fuck up? She's too hot." And everybody's screaming, and she's heartbroken. They try to fix her. So yeah, what goes for aesthetically pleasing? I prefer girly. I like to try the girlies because they're very aesthetically pleasing. I know I lose money, but think about the art of it. True art and trading, and of course you have the approach of, well, I don't know. I'd have to backtest that a bit more to see if it really works. And before I think I put any money, the guy from the Orient that was looking at my stuff, I did a live presentation for free, and the guy said, "What's the rate of return?" And I thought, oh boy, do you have a pencil? Can somebody give me a number 2.5 pencil? I can number 3 pencil because I'm very angry. I think I'm going to be writing very hard. Yeah, so I think that's what it's going to be, number 5 pencils. I went to the art store recently, a couple of years ago, and I could have spent all day in the art store thinking to myself, like, is this stuff designed for entry level, or am I in the pro store? Where's the professional store? Because I noticed the price is very high on the paper with a bunch of rag in it. I go, can't I just take some t-shirts at home and make my own fucking paper? Yeah, how about this? Rag paper on tie-dye recycled t-shirts. When's the art world going to kick into some fucking green state? I'm sure you could get a grant from the government to study. There's another thing. This is actually, and what I don't understand about the welfare state is that there used to be a guy on TV that had all these question marks all over his fucking body, screaming at you, going, "You can get this for free." And I was creeped out and cringed about it because I thought, really? You mean the government's got so many fucking piles of fucking dumb money sitting around that they would give it away for a grant to study the effects of climate on my ability to paint? Yeah, sure. Why not? Let me get an outlandish, let me study and you could, this reminds me of when I was a kid. They had a project, I swear to God to you, in public school, I'm not kidding you. The teacher said, well, here's the thing, we're going to do a survey. So I went door to door, and I tell you, I creeped out so many people in my neighborhood. And these people this isn't like the ghetto. These people are all rich, and they're living on a dirt road just because they don't want anybody to fuck with them. So that was my crop of orders. I had to go door to door and ask people, what do you have for dinner and shit? And they're like, what the fuck? I mean, if you did that today, some guy blow your head off. Get the fuck out of here. I have privacy issues. Everybody's hyper privacy. Dude, nobody cares. Nobody knows you exist. Until you do something really, really wrong. Even then you don't get busted. You know how many people have robbed banks and not gotten busted? You know how many people have just done shit and they're doing it right now, and they're so not busted. You know how many people I've met, and that they're like, well, I don't even have a car or a driver's license, but I'm driving a car. I had a friend get pulled over, I swear to God, by the state police, and they said to him, we're not looking for, they said, this is not your car. These plates from another state. He must know somebody on the inside. They just let him go. They're like, dude, you're so fucked up. We're just going to let you go. He even had drugs in his car. I think he had Adderall in his car or something. They won't let you go. Hey, we'll just take the drugs. See ya. We're busy tonight. We're looking for a serial killer. You're just going to go about your business. So it's just luck of the draw. I don't know what that's all about, but, trading seems a lot saner. When you think about, I feel safer trading the more I think the market's my friend. When I took all the things I learned in my trading books in real life and tried to apply that to the market, I thought, no, this isn't going to work. This is a different environment. This is where chaos is your friend. This is where you're making money from the guy getting in a car crash because the market crashes. So the idea that you're buying a crash is kind of funny. You're making money from it's blood money in a way, I suppose, right? Because some poor guy is like, well, I'm getting in here. I'm like, oh gosh, you poor thing. Really, you're buying here? Oh, can't you see the big picture? Can't you see where we're at? Even on this chart here, I'm only looking back 4 days, but you could see this is all you need to trade right here. Right? Buy, sell. Okay, you're only making 10 pips, but your stop's at 5. If you babysat this half-hour chart, if you didn't have a day job, this is the chart you trade. But, of course, I started off on the weeklies there to show you that you have to think in terms of how long do you want to be in the trade. So if you want to be in the trade for 3 days, you're looking at the weekly. Yeah, I'm going to get in here. You can even scalp off the weekly. The weekly is for scalping too, because you can see where the scalp banks are going to go on the weekly. You can see where it's all going to go. Anyways, I'm going to zip this, and I'm going to call it Oanda. And this is for people can test this out. There's a guy out there, cloud trading. I don't know if he's still cloud trading. Another thing to consider is that these last for a day. Just to let you know, these are written to last all day long. So they really are set up for the guy that can't get to the platform in 24 hours. And these are all like, if I put it here, it's a buy stop. If I put it here, it's a buy limit. So if I start to build buy stops on top of that fractal, because I don't want to miss the trade, and I have buy limits here and buy limits here and buy limits here all day. And I put in, so I don't blow up the account, I put all these orders. Maybe I even go as far as to say, I'm going to put a 50 pip stop on a buy stop here, 50 pip stop here. I'm looking to make $10 here. I'll make 20 if that works out. And you just put them all in. Now you add up your total risks for the day. Maybe $250 if you put in 15. What the fuck? I don't keep my maths. Just I put in 10 of these. You're risking $50, so you'd have to put in 30 of these orders to risk $150 per day. But you're looking to make $400 a day. In one day, you're looking to make $400. By the end of the day, if the thing goes through your labyrinth of, through your lattice of orders, and you fill, and it just, some of you are going to get stopped out, right? If you put a 10 pip stop on there, maybe you get rejected on that. But if you're only looking to make 10 pips, this is going to pad the account. And even the orders that are up here, if you put in a buy stop here, see, I could put a buy stop here with a 15 pip stop looking to make 20 pips, because if it rifles through this, right, it's kind of high risk trade, because the sellers are always going to be coming in up here. The sellers are going to come in here. It's got to clear that hard. It's got to be a clean break. I'm pretty sure this looks like maybe Asia here. But here you could bracket it with buy stops, sell stops, not on this broker maybe, but sell stops only, sell limits, sell at the market. You have to be sell orientated here. You have to figure that you're in a downtrend, and maybe you have a sell stop here. So you go for you might get trapped. It might just be nothing but a trap to go the other way. You never know that, but here we know that we just clipped this. We expect maybe pull back to here. We get in tonight. So tonight you could be getting in here on New Zealand. I'd say that's the only. So I'm just going to call this New Zealand USD, and this is the dollar drop system, $5 drops. Right, $5 drops I call it, and I'll put this in a high tail file.